It's great to be here with you today, and I remember 20 years ago taking my real estate sales license test, and the day after attending a class that changed the trajectory of my life because it changed the way that I thought. I'm going to share with you what happened that day so that you have that same opportunity right now to change the trajectory of what happens for you moving forward. I remember sitting in that class and being asked the question, how much would it take in your ideal world to function each month? What's the amount that you need to where you don't need to think about money? And so I want you to pick that number for yourself. And then the instructor said, now I want you to think about how much and what that number would be for the rest of your life. What's that number each month? And he said, whatever it is, double it. And so my amount was $40,000. I thought to myself, I was 29 years old, brand new licensed agent. This class happened to be the deciding factor in why I joined Keller Williams Realty, because I'm like, well, if these are the kind of questions they're asking and getting me to think differently, this is going to be a different path than what would be traditional. And so through the course of that, and I would invite you to do this when you go home, the instructor said, I want you to imagine that every day you go out to your mailbox, this is how long ago you can tell this was, go out to your mailbox and you get that check for $40,000, you deposit it, you've got 24 hours to account for what happens to it, whatever you don't use goes away. He said the next day I want you to go out to your mailbox, the next check comes, where's that money going? And so literally for about 30 minutes, we went through everyone in the course making lists of what we would do. Money needs a job to do, to be utilized. What we would do until there was nothing left to write. And the purpose of doing that exercise was to start to think differently on where would my time and energy go if my financial life was handled. What would I be doing? And for me, that answer was, I would be traveling the world, speaking on stages, telling people how I did it, so that they could go do the same thing. And so we heard earlier Leo talk about the quality of the questions that you're willing to ask yourself, dictating the quality of your life. I was listening to a quick clip. How many of you know the Jim Rohn, just by a show of hands? One of the most incredible personal development gurus of all time. And I was watching a clip of his recently, and he asked a really important question. I want you to ask yourself this question. What is the opportunity that you're currently using to create financial legacy for your family? What is the opportunity you're currently using to create financial legacy for your family? Now, the next question is equally important, and that is if you're not currently doing that, how much time are you spending each week looking for opportunity to create financial legacy for your family? And then the third question was even more important. If you're not spending time doing that every week, what is the conversation that you're having with your family to explain to them why not? And these are some important questions. The quality of your life, I believe, will be directly related to the quality of the questions that you ask yourself. Now, I remember a really important time when Rick and I were asking ourselves a series of important questions. And this was between the years of 2015, 2016. And the question that we were asking ourselves at that time was, how do we take what took 30 years to create and over the next 5 to 7 years create that or more? Why were we asking ourselves that question? Well, because Rick had previously owned 9 Keller Williams franchises, and by the time that experience was done, he was in his late 50s with $1.4 million in debt, no retirement, and I was still rebuilding from losing everything during the 2006, 7, 8 years in the real estate industry. That's an insane question to ask. How do, over the next 5 to 7 years, we recreate what took 30 years to build and then some? Well, it ended up being an important question because we got a call from Brent Gove with the possibility of how to do that at the end of 2016. And so, January of 2017, we joined eXp Realty when the company was only 2,400 agents strong. Why? Because we saw possibility, we saw hope. I believe the job of a leader is to offer hope to the people that you lead. And not just false hope. It's hope with opportunity. And not just hope with opportunity. It's hope with opportunity and a clear path of how to go create and execute that based on what someone's vision is. And so I will tell you that that question and then saying yes to becoming part of EXP when people were, let's be honest, EXP was on trial. Nobody knew that it was going to do what it did, that it was going to fully scale, become the #1 independent brokerage on the planet today based on transaction count, and that it would change the trajectory of the real estate industry so much that every new company that comes into the industry is attempting to Me Too something that revolutionized it. Nobody knew that was going to happen. So there was a lot of pushback at that time in conversations. It was not a mainstream conversation. But what happened is that when you start to ask yourself a different set of questions and you invite other people to start asking those questions, you will find your people. And that's what we did. We found people that were willing to think differently, to think outside of the box. And I was just sitting next to my business partner and saying that I've been in the industry for 20 years and it doesn't matter what real estate conference I go to, everyone's talking about this market being different and what we're doing in this market. I've never been to a real estate conference in 20 years that's not the conversation. Ever. Has anyone else in the room? No, because we're constantly learning, growing, adjusting, pivoting, right? And what I'm here to tell you is that question that I started to ask 20 years ago when EXP didn't exist, when we saw this model, it was the hope with the opportunity and with a plan in place that could execute it. And it was clear as day. But if we hadn't been asking those questions, how do we condense 30 years into 5 to 7? How do I create a life where the money box is checked and handled so that I can spend my time and energy where I'm most passionate to spend my time and energy without having to check the time and money boxes that is inherent in the industry? It would have been totally different. So fast forward 8 years later, and what we're really proud about is the people that we've attracted. These are 2024 numbers, 15,531 transactions and $7.7 billion in real estate in the 7 generations of agents that sit within Empire Builders Pro that was founded by me and my late husband, Rick Geha. And so here's a really important part of this. I believe there's a few questions that are really important for each person to ask. And it's, number one, adjusting your mindset as to what it means to be a real estate sales professional. Everybody talks about that your market is going to be buyers, sellers, and investors. And as you monetize those networks, you create business, you change lives, and that's who your market is. Except for it changed years ago when EXP came on the scene, because now that fourth market is agents. You have something as an agent that you can help other agents with your influence, with this community, and with the platform that EXP offers. And it's a simple mindset shift. And once you make that mindset shift, the next layer of questions that are normal to ask is, can I do this? Can I really go out and attract people and build an organization that, we haven't created any records. We're darn proud of the people that we're in business with and grateful to have them in our lives. Can I do this? Do I want to do it? Question number 2. And number 3, will it be worth it? So I want to talk to you about the will it be worth it part. Because October 10th of 2023, many of you know Rick took his last breath while I held his hand and passed away very unexpectedly. But what I want to share with you about that is not the fact that he passed. I want to share with you what happened with our partner EXP. How did they deliver on what their promises have been stated? Like, you don't know until the rubber meets the road what's actually going to happen. So I'm very grateful that we've attracted great people. One of the most incredible people that we had the opportunity to attract was Selena Galanis, who's our growth and operations partner. And she, behind the scenes, the minute that she got the news that happened, reached out. So literally, immediately, my license went from EXP commercial to EXP residential because the Rick Geha real estate sales team still needed to transact and needed a team lead. That happened immediately. But there was also this organization of agents connected to Rick because he came and he started and he pioneered all of that. And the process of moving Casey, because this is a willable, sellable asset, you can will it to who's next as long as they have a license. If they moved that organization under me, I would lose all access and all visibility and not be able to work, support, or grow the organization to the next layer at that time. So they didn't do it. And what the company did for the next 2 weeks was figure out the solution to where it would be moved to me so that by the time the next rev share cycle paid out, it would pay out in my corporation and my name, uninterrupted, so that I didn't have to have the worry and could have the peace of mind of why this was designed the way that it was designed. And within 2 weeks, that was done, and the rev share paid out into my corporation without missing a beat. Now, a call that didn't get made, but that was made proactively by the company, is Rick was an Icon agent every year that he was here, and he had just spoken the week before at EXPCon and fulfilled the cultural award and the attendance award for attending the events, that part of the Icon award. Well, guess what? You can't administer stock to somebody who's not alive. EXP, without being asked, within that first few weeks, deposited the amount for those awards into my bank account. Now, the reason why I share this story in detail is because if you're asking yourself, can I do this, do I want to do it, and will it be worth it? You need to know that the partner that you're in business with is going to be there for you the way they said they would be there for you when it matters the most. And the truth is, life is coming for every single one of us. It's not done coming for me, and it's coming for each and every one of you. And the question is, how are you going to be positioned when that time comes? And what is your experience going to be when that time comes? Are you going to go through it with stress and needing to liquidate things, or are you going to have peace of mind knowing that something's been built outside of you with an incredible community and a company that is dedicated to delivering on the promises that they've made to you? That is the opportunity that each person has here. Now, I always look at this picture with fondness because this was in 2020, and this was a different set of questions. It was a time where we were on lockdown in California, and we didn't like being on lockdown. So we had this idea of like, well, let's, buy a motor coach and tour the US because we're not doing anything else. And Rick thought at the time, he's like, I've never left my business for more than 10 days, and like, I cannot physically not be here for my business. And I'm like, really? What if we change the questions that we're asking and ask how much business is it possible to grow not being physically present while enjoying our lives where nobody knows where we are and we don't even know where we're going within the next 24 to 48 hours because we haven't decided where we want to be next. And so we took off, and for 2 months, we went around the US, and in that 2 months, the Rick Geha team put $22 million in contract in real estate. That was done on Zooms and Wi-Fi, with boots on the ground at home and us being wherever we wanted to be, because we asked a different set of questions. Now, in order to create something different, quite often there comes a time for each and every one of us where there's something for us to let go of. It may be a way that we think that doesn't really serve creating the outcome or the result that we want. Maybe something energetically, like a story we haven't been willing to let go of. And this happened for me recently. There was Facebook Live videos that came up from 2018, 2019 in my feed and notifications, and one of them was of Rick, and he was talking about, he was so passionate about basketball, and he was talking about the NBA championships and how during the second quarter there had been this play that they kept talking about, like all the news media outlets were talking about in quarters 3 and 4, about how they couldn't believe how this play had happened and been called in the second quarter. And he was correlating that to how often do we take a story that does not serve us and play it on repeat over and over again in our minds, which actually prevents us from winning and creating a different outcome. And he said something so important. He said, professional athletes are professionals because they get paid to forget what happened 2 seconds ago and go out and have a mindset where they're going to win. There's a lot of people talking about the last couple of years in real estate, like that second quarter of that basketball game. And the telling of that story prevents the moving forward and winning. This beautiful 43-foot Integra Anthem had been on the market for over a year for sale when I watched that Facebook Live video a few weeks back. And not because I couldn't drive it. I did most of the driving while we were on the road, number one, because I liked it, and number two, because I'm like, no, you go work. It's good. Just sit back at the back table and work. So I could run the thing by myself, and I could take a friend, and I just realized that it was too much, too close. Because that's the freest that we felt in those 2 months of really owning our lives and the experiences that were created there. And so it wasn't selling, and it wasn't selling. And the reason why I'm telling you this is because I want you to think about what there is for you to let go of, what there is for you to release to get to the next level. Now, fortunately, one of our dreams became realized because of EXP, and you'll see a short video on that next. But what that meant is me outside on a deck, and let's just say the entire backside of my body got second-degree burns because I fell asleep outside in the sun when I wasn't intending to. We live on the coast. And so I'd been sleeping in the guest room in our house, and I had seen the videos that I referenced about the basketball game, and I realized, oh my goodness, I've been sleeping in the guest room for like 2 weeks now, and I never went back to our room, which is beautiful. It opens up to the water. We're 2 blocks from the water. We're on the 5th floor, have a beautiful view of the Monterey Bay. The house that EXP bought, the stock was the down payment, and RevShare makes the payments. And I realized I wasn't going back into that room because on the left-hand side of the bed was a beautiful portrait from our wedding with his remains, a picture of the day we signed our loan documents in the house that I live in, and some other memorable things that we had done together. And the energy of that, I was like, I'm avoiding going back into that room. And so I had watched his video about what there is to let go of and realized that was holding me back. And I decided I'm going to change all the bedding. I'm going to take everything that's in there and move it out. And I did it that Sunday. And Monday morning, I got an offer for somebody to purchase the rig. The next day. Now, it was a lowball offer, and I went back to him and said, listen, I'm in real estate. I don't want to negotiate with you. Give me your highest and best, or I'm not even going to look at it. So by Tuesday, we were in contract. I mean, time is the most valuable asset we all have. Don't waste it, right? Don't waste my time. And so literally that next day, Wednesday, I went back to Facebook to look at those 2 Facebook Lives that I had watched of his from 2018 and 2019, and they were gone. And actually, all of the footage of him was gone. Because Facebook unilaterally deleted any Facebook Lives that were older than 30 days, and they're not stored anywhere. That night, I got a call from our daughter-in-law saying they were pregnant with a little girl, and she sent me the text message from 5 years earlier from Rick saying, I don't know if you guys ever have kids, and I hope that you do, but if you do, could you have a little girl? I've always wanted a little girl. In 4 days, huge things happened. Why? I believe it's because I realized and identified that there was things for me to let go of to free myself to move forward. What are the questions that you're asking yourself to free yourself to move forward in areas that are going to be most important for you? Now, I think about these questions also, and I go back to 2006, and I really jumped in and devoted myself to personal development, to continuing to change my mind, not just to get hyped up, to be motivated, to be inspired, but to physically transform my mind and thus my outer reality again and again and again. And I've devoted 20 years of my life to doing that. And I know that for every breakdown, there's a breakthrough. And so I welcome the breakdowns because I know that it's the catalyst for the next layer of growth that's going to happen. And so I've trained myself in that muscle. I don't resist the breakdowns. It's like, let's go into the breakdowns. And so I thought back, I just got this email. How many of you know something called tut.com? Have you heard of that? Well, it's tut.com. This is 2006. I'm in a personal development training, and it's an email list that you can sign up for that gives you little inspirational quotes in your email box every day. And you put 3 goals in there, and then they wind those goals into whatever the email thoughts are here and then, just to keep them in front of you in your mind and your heart. Now, one of those was a beach house in PG, Pacific Grove. Rick and I weren't yet together. I'd been a realtor for a year at that point, and it would be 2 more years before we went on our first date, so he wasn't even in the picture. And over the last 19 years, those emails have come. And the reason why I'm sharing this story with you is it's really important, not just the questions that you ask yourself, but how clear that you get on if anything is possible, And I believe that it is. If anything is possible for you, what is it that you haven't let yourself desire? I believe if you can desire something, that there is no God in this world that would make it impossible for you to experience or get it. If you can have the desire, some way, somehow, at some point in time, you can have that experience. And our beach house was that. I'm going to click through this because the power of the story is things are happening all the time. We're giving them meanings about what they mean or don't mean when they actually mean nothing. And the meaning that we do assign something will dictate the future that we go and create for ourselves. So be very intentional about the narratives that you're going to create for you. Now, this is the deck of our house in Pacific Grove, the one that I put on an email prompt, Notes from the Universe, in 2006. It's the place that EXP became possible because of EXP, and the life that I have today is possible because of this opportunity and the opportunity that we have to continue to pay it forward to others. So I believe as you ask yourself some of the most important questions, be clear about what they are. And when it comes to the opportunity that every single person has in this room, I talk to people all the time and I hear them say, oh, well, you know, EXP's been around, it's already 90,000 agents. If that has ever run, how many people have someone said that to? Or have you heard that, or have you thought that, just by a show of hands? It's the opportunity's passed. I need to find something that's a ground floor, that's a startup, that's a this or that. You guys are not having conversations with people about their futures then, because you'll hear that. So here's the thing I want you to take away in your mind. 2,400 agents when we came to EXP in 2017, and there's 90,000 roughly today. That's 8 years. 8 years to go from 2,400 to 90,000. Over the next 5 to 7 years, we're projected to go from somewhere between 90,000 to 250 to 500,000. Do some quick math. What's a bigger opportunity? 2,400 to 90,000 or 90,000 to 250,000 and beyond? Every single person in this room is sitting in front of the opportunity. And if you go back to those questions that Jim Rohn asked, what's the opportunity that you're utilizing to create legacy for you and for your family? I don't know of a better opportunity than the one that every single person has sitting in this room. And the question that I would hate to hear you having to ask your family is, and explain, is why you're not taking advantage of it for the sake of them and their futures. Don't let that happen to you.